Hey, welcome back to Moving People to Action. I'm your host, Tim Clark. Thank you for tuning in. Please share this link. This is a social media platform that seeks to have conversations with a focus on solutions. Sister Viv and Brendan, I brought Brother Raheem back. There's some questions that we're getting from our audience, and I wanted him to kind of let's open this up because we're 10 minutes away from ending this, and so let's open up for a couple questions, and then we can look at both of you guys a closing statement in terms of just how do we march forward, what's the work that we need to be focusing on and doing. Go ahead, Brother Raheem.
All right, so we actually got another question that just came in, so I'm gonna try to put both of them out there.
Hey, it must be a juicy question, man. You all kind of excited and smiling and stuff, Brendan and Viv.
Okay. So we got the first question is there are several organizations in Omaha that include people and children of color. So how do sponsors work with young people about how to help change negative situations safely and effectively so they have the confidence to move forward? So that's question number one. And question number two is, if the men are not going to change, what can we do to educate our Black young and old women to push back? And who will support us when we do?
Well, I guess I'll try to address that first question in terms of organizations. I mean, immediately what comes to mind for me are organizations like Girls Inc., whose motto is to be strong, smart, and bold. And I
love it, Brendan. I love it.
And that kind of gets to the second part of that, to the second question. I mean, so what do young women do? They become strong, smart, and bold. And I know that there are some other organizations that are working with young men, and then young men and young women. I mean, Girls Inc. works, exclusively with young women. North Star works exclusively with young men. Boys and Girls Club works with both. But if you look at their programming around some of the issues we've been discussing this evening, I know at Boys and Girls Clubs, for example, they bring in people from the community, who have experienced some level of quote success in terms of advancing in their careers, and exposing these young men and young women to individuals in their community. So what you're 100 Black men, Mr. Clark. What is it? Right. If you see it, you can be it. What's your model?
Yeah, what they see is what they'll be.
What they'll see is what they'll be. And so, so what can men do? Hey, we need more, men in serving in mentor and coaching positions. When we were being interviewed back when Dirk Chatterley was writing the book 24th and Glory, one of the things he talked about, he asked questions about, was like, okay, what did you all have back then, that you see lacking right now? And one of the reasons we produced the athletes we produced was because we had Black men who volunteered to coach kids, right? You had the Josh Gibsons of the world, you had the Rodney Weeds of the world, and I go past baseball diamonds in North Omaha that have grass growing in the infield, right? So yeah, I mean, there's a place that there's a void that needs to be filled.
That's a
good
point. Ahead, go ahead and take a shot at it.
One of the groups that I'm in, the National Council of Negro Women, we actually go and volunteer and do mentoring at 2 inner city urban schools to provide a positive role model for these young Black girls to see and talk to them about their futures and taking care of themselves, standing up for themselves, finish school, do well, set goals. But if kids don't see those positive role models, then that's going to have a negative impact. And I think going back to the 100 Black men motto, they will be what they see is true for young girls as well. So they need to see those positive role models. But I also think it's important for us and other leaders to help try to teach the folks that are coming up so they know their value, know their worth, because they may or may not be getting that kind of information at home. So we need to reach back and try and say, hey, listen, you are valuable, you are important. And I think the more we know about ourselves and about our own economic power that we bring to the table, when you look at our rich heritage in terms of, you know, when you look at Blacks coming over from the continent of Africa, and then we landed here and people were enslaved. But if you look at the history of where they came from, many of these people were kings and queens and leaders in their own land. They were business owners, very wealthy in many cases. And so when you think about your own heritage and what you bring to the table, I think it can help you to fight through some of those negative situations that we all face or that young people are facing. For example, if you look at the economic power that Black Americans have in this country this year, Blacks are estimated to hit $1.5 trillion in economic power. Of that number, Black women make up 1.2 trillion of the 1.5 million in terms of economic power. When you know that about yourself and this group that you're a part of, being African American women, you can walk into a bank or a room and say, listen, I have a business plan here and I would like funding for this particular entrepreneurial endeavor that I want to start.